Well, production has wrapped on that Punisher special presentation in New York City, and before they could finish up, we got a first look at the new costume. And it feels like they're leaning into the comics. Let's take a couple minutes to talk about this new costume, how it looks a little different than previous versions, and quite honestly, if we see anything on that suit that could help him stand up against Spider-Man or the Hulk, because his next outing's not going to be easy. Well, if you're a fan of this channel, you know we've been following that Punisher special presentation production fairly closely. They've been in full swing, but because this is basically a 1-hour episode one-off, they've already wrapped production. Now, it seems like Mononoke is going to definitely be the villain, and it's probably going to be that Garth Ennis tale. But at this point, Marvel has done a pretty good job keeping details under wraps. Now, earlier today, a behind-the-scenes shot was shared by photographer Steve Sands, and it gives us an awesome look at the current Punisher costume and Frank Castle's current look, so let's go ahead and check it out. Honestly, I like the suit, but my only problem is it's a little clean. The Punisher does have a simplistic costume, and I am glad for a couple of details I've noticed. The only white on the costume that we can see is the chest emblem, and often in the comics his gloves and boots are also portrayed as white, which I always thought was a little hokey. Now when you look at this costume, one of the things I do notice is it does have the classic bulletproof vest, he's wearing those tactical gloves and knee pads, and he seems to be carrying a plethora of weapons and ammunition. Although I will say, I don't see anything on Frank's waistband there that could definitely dive into taking on the likes of Spider-Man or the Hulk. So we're still wondering about what other upgrades he could get, and we talked a little bit about that in another video, so you should probably go check that out. Honestly, Marvel doesn't have to do a lot to get the Punisher costume right. This is one of those ones you have to screw it up to screw it up. And again, they've done it pretty well here. Throughout the history of the character's live-action appearances, minus the Dolph Lundgren costume, well, they pretty much stuck to the classic comic style, and I've never really heard anybody complain about the costume throughout his big and small screen history. Now, I have heard some comments that his hairstyle definitely looks a little bit like one of those clowns from Jersey Shore, but I'm really not seeing it. He does look trim and neat here, and that's not something the Punisher maintains for very long, so I don't think anybody really should be reading a lot into that. The big question and now remains, will this be the suit in Spider-Man Brand New Day? And I'm not gonna lie, I expect some tweaks for the big film. Marvel classically switches up costumes even in the slightest between movies and projects, so there's really no reason to think that Frank Castle will maintain the exact same costume, although I don't think any of the big details will change. Now, as far as the Punisher special presentation goes, we still do not have a release date, but since this is one episode, I would not be surprised if we get this sometime early next year, probably predating Daredevil. It definitely could be setting up details for that second season of Born Again, and I'm absolutely looking forward to Frank Castle rampaging through New York and taking down some of the underworld's worst. But until we know more, we're going to have to wait and see. Before we take off, make sure you hit that like and subscribe button and ring the bell for all the updates. We do daily Marvel and DC news, and we want to bring you all the news truthfully and transparently so you're really in the know.